Hey, what's going on YouTube? So today I wanted to make a video about my top 25 for 2015 for college football. I did one last year, but I haven't done one for this year yet. So start with my honorable mentions, the 5 teams just outside my top 25. The first one is Nebraska. They do return Tommy Armstrong, quarterback. They also bring in a new head coach, Mike Riley. He didn't have much success at Oregon State, but maybe a fresh change in personnel just can do Nebraska good. At number 4, I've got Texas A&M. They have Kyle Allen returning a quarterback. This is Kevin Sumlin's make-or-break year after Johnny Manziel's been gone for 2 years now. See if Texas A&M can have a little bit of success in the SEC West. At number 3, I've got Boise State. Pretty easy schedule. Maybe another Mountain West championship. Could finish the season inside the top 25. At number 2, I've got my number two honorable mention team is Texas. Another year for the Stronghorns. See if Charlie Strong can finally get the Longhorns going like they used to. See if Gerard Hurd, Tyrone Swoops can lead the offense. Jonathan Gray returns for his senior year. See if he can stay injury-free. Malik Jefferson should be able to lead the defense as well. And my last honorable mention is Arkansas, a team that a lot of people have inside their top 25, even though they finished the year last year 7-6. They do return their top 2 running backs, Alex Collins and Jonathan Williams, and they return their quarterback. But I haven't seen enough consistency from Brandon Allen yet to see him finishing inside the top 25. Now to start off my top 25, I've got Mizzou at 25. The reigning back-to-back SEC East champions. They return Matty Mock at quarterback, Russell Hansbrough at running back, so should be another efficient year for the offense. The defense just seems to churn out defensive linemen like it's nothing. Harold Brantley seems to be the next one in line. And at number 24, I've got Mississippi State. They returned Dak Prescott, which is all I really need to put them back inside my top 25. Dak Prescott was a Heisman contender last year. It kind of fell apart at the end, but should be another great year for Mississippi State again. At number 23, I've got Arizona State, a team that a lot of people have inside their top 10. I don't really see it. Mike Bercovici looks like he could be a solid quarterback, got a lot of arm strength, but he only started 3 games last year, so I haven't seen enough yet to put him any higher than that. At number 22, I've got Oklahoma State, kind of the same deal. Mason Rudolph showed flashes last year, definitely finished off the year well with an upset win against OU and then a bowl win against Washington. They return a lot on the defensive side of the ball, but again, not enough yet to see them any higher than 22. Number 21, I've got Wisconsin. They do lose Melvin Gordon, but they bring back Corey Clement, who honestly could be just as good. So it should be another solid year for the running game for Wisconsin. At number 20, I've got Oklahoma. They bring in Lincoln Riley from East Carolina. The offensive coordinator should be able to bring back the air raid offense successfully to Oklahoma, whether they do have Trevor Knight or Baker Mayfield starting. They do have a lot of depth at quarterback, and they are led at running back by Samaje Perine, one of the best young running backs in college football. Number 19, I've got Tennessee, a team that just returns a ton of talent. Very young team. They return Josh Dobbs, Jalen Hurd, they bring in Alvin Kamara. Should be great on both sides of the ball. They've got talent on defense with Derek Barnett, Cam Sutton. They got talent everywhere. It's just a matter of them putting it together. At number 18, I've got Stanford, kind of a disappointing 8-5 year last year. Should be able to compete in the Pac-10 again, but see how Kevin Hogan can hold his consistency together if he can put a full solid year together for the first time. So number 17, I've got Georgia Tech. They return Justin Thomas at quarterback. They do lose quite a few running backs, but they're an option offense. Never really seemed to have trouble to replace running backs. Solid 11-3 year last year, finishing off the year with an Orange Bowl victory against Mississippi State. So I see another good year for Georgia Tech. Number 16, I've got Ole Miss. They do lose quite a bit on both sides of the ball. Senquez Golson on defense and Bo Wallace on offense. But they do return one of the best receivers in the country, Laquan Treadwell, and they also do have one of the best returning defensive ends in the country in Robert Nkemdiche. At number 15, I've got Notre Dame, another team that has generated a lot of preseason hype, mainly behind Malik Zaire. Looks like a very good dual-threat quarterback, but if he doesn't really pan out, then they did lose Everett Golson to transfer, and they don't really have that safety net anymore. At number 14, I've got LSU, one of the more solid defensive teams in the country, also got a very solid running game. They bring back Leonard Fournette, one of the most talented running backs in the country, but the uncertainty is at quarterback, whether Anthony Jennings or Brandon Harris can take over that offense. Number 13, I've got Florida State. They lose, obviously, Jameis Winston, Rashad Green. They do lose a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. On defense, though, they return Jalen Ramsey. On offense, they should be able to replace Jameis to at least a relatively good degree with Everett Golson transferring in and Sean McGuire stepping up. They also return Dalvin Cook at running back. Should have a very solid sophomore year campaign. At number 12, I got Arizona. They return a ton of young talent. They return a new Solomon at quarterback. I believe their quarterback and running back were freshmen last year, so should be a bright future in Tucson. At number 11, I've got UCLA. They do lose Brett Hundley, but they do return a ton of players on both sides of the ball. I believe they have 16 or 18 returning players. Miles Jack, who can play on both sides of the ball, great linebacker. Pretty good running back as well. At number 10, I've got USC, another team a lot like Notre Dame that generates a lot of preseason hype. Don't really see it yet. They should be able to compete in the Pac-12, though, for a championship. They return Cody Kessler. They do lose Nelson Aguilar, though. I believe they also return Sua Craven, so they return quite a bit of talent on both sides of the ball. It's just a matter if Steve Sarkisian can put it all together. At number 9, I've got Clemson, a team that does lose quite a bit on the defensive side of the ball. But they do have Shaq Lawson returning on defense. They do have Deshaun Watson, very good quarterback, returning on offense if he can stay healthy for the entire season. Number 8, I've got Georgia, team that always does generate a lot of preseason hype and never really seems to pull through. They lose Todd Gurley, but replace him maybe with an even better running back with Nick Chubb. They've got a ton of running back depth with Keith Marshall, Nick Chubb, Sonny Michel. They've got talent everywhere. See if the quarterback can be replaced since Hudson Mason does graduate, though. Number 7, I've got Oregon. They do lose Marcus Mariota, which obviously was the driving force behind their college playoff run last year. So Vernon Adams transferred from Eastern Washington, but they have run into a little bit of problems with him not graduating from Eastern Washington, so he might not be able to start. That might throw in Jeff Locke into the starting role. They also have Byron Marshall and Thomas Tyner returning, so it should be a solid running game. Number 6, I've got Auburn, a team that really did disappoint last year. I believe they held the number 3 spot in the rankings for quite a while until they kind of fell off the rails at the end of the year, finishing 8-5. But they bring in Will Muschamp, a defensive coordinator, should be one of the better defensive coordinators in the country, should be one of the better defenses in the country now. They do have Jeremy Johnson at quarterback and DeQuillard Williams returning at wide receiver, so the offense and defense should both be running well this year. Auburn should be able to compete for an SEC title. Number 5, I've got Baylor. They do lose Bryce Petty, but they do return a lot. They have, I believe, Seth Russell and Jarrett Stidham at quarterback, so they do have choices there. They got Katie Cannon returning a wide receiver, a lot of defensive returning starters, and should be able to battle with TCU for the Big 12 title and a spot in the college football playoff. Number 4, I've got Michigan State, team that I don't really see losing more than 2 games this year, with a steady hand with Connor Cook at quarterback, Shalik Calhoun returning on defense. They've got solid starters on both sides of the ball. Should be another great year in Lansing. Number 3, I've got Alabama. Looks like they might be able to be a consistent college football playoff team for how many ever years the college football playoff is going. They lose Blake Sims at quarterback, but they have a ton of returning talent. They've got Kenyon Drake, Derrick Henry at running back. They do lose Amari Cooper at receiver, but Alabama seems to reload every year. So I do see another maybe 1 or 2 loss season for them, but probably another college football playoff. Number 2, I've got TCU. They do return a lot. Trevon Boykin, Josh Doxson, Aaron Green, list goes on. But it should be different for TCU this year since they do have a target on their back in a power conference for the first time ever. They went into last season as a team that was looked to be maybe even below 500. Obviously surprised a ton of people. Maybe should have made the college football playoff. Who knows? Number 1, I've got the reigning champs, Ohio State, return a ton of talent everywhere. Obviously, the 3 quarterbacks, the logjam there with Braxton Miller, Cardale Jones, and JT Barrett. They do return Ezekiel Elliott running back, Joey Bosa on defense. So it should be another big year, maybe another Big Ten championship. And As far as I see, they have the best odds to win the national championship this year. So that's my top 25 for this year. If you disagree, feel free to comment below. Like I said, this is just my opinion of what the top 25 is what the top 25 should look like at the beginning of the year. The top 20 or the best 25 teams to start off the year. I'll probably do a video at the end this year just to see what happened, see the mistakes I made, see if I had any good calls, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Stay up.